Welcome to the Good for Others show, where we turn bold ideas into real-world impact. I'm your host, John Valencia, President and CEO of Good for Others Foundation. Here's what I know. Talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. And when we talk about workforce development, we're not only just talking about traditional career pathways. We're talking about the places where people build confidence, communication, creativity, and most of all, connection. On this show, we talk with leaders who are creating real opportunities for people and really highlighting the amazing work that's happening in the nonprofit space. Today, we're really excited to welcome Ben Gougeon from Quad City Arts, where he is the Director of Community Engagement. Ben is also the host of Talking Art with a public radio station based out of Rock Island, Illinois. He shares stories about artists, creative work, and the role of the arts in community life. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, John. I'm excited to be here.
What we like to do on the show is this lightning round. So let's have some fun. All right. Would you rather have theme music play every time you enter a room or applause every time you leave?
Theme music for sure. Announce the entrance.
Yeah. Are you a save the nice candle kind of person, or do you actually use the candle someone gifts you?
I don't like candles. I'm not a candle person.
So don't give you a candle.
Candle regifter.
What's a totally normal thing that you are weirdly particular about?
I would say alignment of like wrappers and labels on, anything that's canned or screwed. Like I like those things to be aligned, and I'm going to set them up. And I don't know if it comes from working retail when I was a youth and making sure
here.
All the product.
Right.
Who knows?
So is your
or maybe
pantry
OCD.
and like your spice cabinet all like super aligned?
It's real pretty.
What's your go-to gas station snack?
Probably jerky. I like a good jerky stick, or lately I've also been into and they're kind of weird, but the little like hard-boiled eggs you can get at a gas station.
All right. Okay.
It's a nice protein.
Would you rather be excellent at trivia or excellent at karaoke?
I already am excellent at trivia, so I could up my karaoke game a little bit.
Brilliant. What's your default doodle when you're either on the phone or in a meeting?
I kind of like to draw faces, and I am not a great artist, so I've been experimenting with like a scribble technique where you're just kind of like constant hand motion scribbling and a face appears out of it.
That's
Yeah.
okay. I need to see these doodles.
They're not good.
On a more serious note, who or what inspires you?
The thing that inspires me most is when I see people who are giving of themselves to be of service to a greater good. We have lots of people in our community who are just some of the most selfless people that I have ever seen in the work that they do, and that I am in awe of them.
Thank you for sharing. For listeners who may not be familiar with Quad City Arts, what do you do? Tell us everything.
Yeah, so we are an arts organization, like you said, based in Rock Island, Illinois, and we've been around for about 55 years. And our mission statement is to enrich the life of the Quad Cities through the arts. And that incorporates a multitude of facets. We have several community-wide festivals throughout the year that are all different art themed. We have 2 galleries in town where we feature local artists, both in gallery showings and also in a gift shop. We have a Metro Arts, and we'll definitely talk more about this on the show, a Metro Arts Youth Apprenticeship program, where we are training young artists to further their professional careers. We have a visiting artist series where we bring artists from all over the world in to go do work in our schools and with other community groups in partnerships and public performance. We have our podcast where we interview artists. We also do a lot of art services with public art and working with cities and municipalities to bring art into the communities through both public sculpture program. We do a lot of work with muralists, more larger scale placemaking initiatives with the cities in the area. We kind of do a bit of everything. I like to say we make art happen. So we have a lot of things where people come to us and say, hey, we have this idea for an art project. And we have the experience and the resources and the ability to make those projects happen.
How big is your org? Like, how many staff do you have?
Right now, I think we have 6 on staff, and then we also have some part-time people that work in the galleries. So it kind of fluctuates between like 6 and 12,
Nice.
depending on the time of year. And we have a very large-scale fundraiser festival that we do every year around the holidays that incorporates a ton of people that we have in seasonally. So,
A
yeah,
small but mighty team, it sounds like, doing
it's
really good work.
it is a small but mighty team, and we keep a lot of balls in the air, and
Yeah.
it's a very passionate team.
Yeah.
People who care deeply about their community and are excited to make art happen.
Yeah. How did you get connected to the org?
I had moved to the Quad Cities in 2019 and had been living in New York and had been an actor and director in theater and film and television for about 20 years. And I moved back to the Midwest.
Anything famous? Like we would know?
Oh man, I hate this question. I did a handful of TV shows. So I was on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and Law and
No.
Order SVU. Yep. Bull, The
Wait, what were you on
Blacklist.
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
It was just one episode. There's an episode in season 2 where Susie gets an enormously large phone bill and calls the phone company and has a discussion about her phone bill with the phone company representative. And I played the phone company representative,
That's
Mr. Ed
awesome.
Grieg. Yeah. It was super fun set to be on. So I did a lot of TV roles like that and some independent films, and, theater is my background. And so I've worked at theaters and performed all over the country. And so I've always been involved in the arts, and kind of in this second half of my career have moved into the arts administration and making art happen for other people now.
I love that. And you're like a mini celebrity. A lot of times the nonprofit sector finds us in these roles. I did not know I was going to go and run organizations in the nonprofit sector when I was a kid. And I think growing up, similarly, I was in theater. I wanted to be an actor. It was going to be amazing. And it's kind of weird how it just happenstance, like in our careers, right? We somehow fall into it, but we still get to do the part of the, like, who we are deeply, somehow over life, right? Time, hopefully we find who we are and what excites us and makes us not dread going to work on a Monday. And so it seems like you were able to take what you were excited about, your passion, but also now here equate that to a really amazing organization doing really good work. If you could go back in time to a younger version of yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And describe what your career path would look like, what would you say?
Man, I mean, I definitely had the star-stuck dreams of like, I'm moving to New York and getting famous. And, as that younger self was doing that, I found more and more as I got older that the things I thought about that and fame were a lot of sugar rushes, where it was, brief pops of, oh, I booked this job, or I did this job, or this shows up, and then followed by the dredge of auditioning. And I was a full-time working actor in New York and booked 7% of the things that I auditioned for. Because it's no's and rejections, and you get used to it and you learn how to deal with that. But for me, moving into that nonprofit sector, like I said, the world of sugar rushes wasn't sustaining, and it just kind of felt emptier the longer I did it. And so being able to get into somewhere where every day you feel yourself making a difference and impacting lives, and being able to see the things that you are bringing to the community was just a much more fulfilling meal. And I've just personally done a lot of work on ego management, for lack of a better term, over the years. And I think when you're a performer, that's always a constant battle with ego. And if you're doing things for your ego, Stanislavski says, like, love the art in yourself, not yourself in the art. And I think there were times when I was definitely loving myself in the art more than the art in myself. And I've been able to find that more by doing this.
I love that. And thanks for the vulnerability of that. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And true, right? I mean, it's what happens as we grow up. We learn things about ourselves.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Something's working. Yeah.
Before we talk more about the arts, I think it's really cool to hear your passion, right? And we have so many workers in the nonprofit sector, right? We make up 10% of the workforce. And a lot of people don't see it as a career. It kind of falls in our laps. And I think one of my biggest hopes and dreams of what I can at least try to do in my career is excite people to actually go into the careers and from a
Mhm.
young age, right? And so for you, how would you describe or tell someone who might be interested in working in an arts organization like yours? It's about passion, it's about excitement, and you get to be creative, right? But the arts is so vast. You can do so much in it. And your
Yeah.
organization does a lot of really cool things, but I don't think some people think, I am an artist. I could go and work in the nonprofit sector and or help other artists or do these things and support these galleries. Like, well, I want to go work at the biggest art gallery in the world. And maybe that
Mhm.
doesn't pan out, but there's really amazing organizations like yours, in every city doing really cool things. So would you have any sort of insight for those listening who might want to take a leap of faith to come join the nonprofit sector, specifically in an arts organization like yours?
It's really fulfilling being able to make and create, seeing things come to life. I mentioned our Metro Arts Youth Apprenticeship program earlier, and I always jokingly tell them every year when we first meet with all the apprentices, I'm like, don't tell my other programs, but you guys are my favorite. And part of that is, I love seeing those apprentices blossom over their time in the program, but also like they're out making a difference in the community. And as they are creating a mural, or we do lots of different mediums within the apprenticeship, and we connect students age 15 to 21 with a lead professional artist. And then they work on murals or poetry or improv or graphic design or music or theater or dance. We cycle that yearly, getting to see lasting impact in your community, watching our kids go out and spend 5 weeks painting a mural somewhere in a neighborhood. And I always tell them, for the next 10 or 15 or 20 years, you're going to drive down that street and you're going to feel a connection every time you see that mural. All the people who live in that neighborhood are going to see that mural, and you're adding color and vibrancy. So I think in the nonprofit world, there's so many opportunities for people to really make a difference. Nonprofits are all about filling gaps in our society.
And you said one of my favorite words, apprenticeship. I think non-traditional apprenticeships are insanely important and really hard to do. You guys have established this. So how long has it been around? How many do you get to serve? Tell me more.
Yeah, so Metro Arts has been around. It's either our 26th or 27th season. Last year, we celebrated 25 years, and we had a film group that did a documentary about the program. We were like, hey, it's 25 years. But in their discovery, we had apprentices who were like, yeah, I think I did my first year in 1999, not 2000. So
You're like, whoops.
we're going to celebrate 25 years, no matter what year it is. So yeah, it's been around at least 26 years. It's a 5-week apprenticeship. As I mentioned earlier, the apprentices are paired up with a lead artist. This year we have 3 mural projects going on, as well as a poetry group. Throughout the course of the program, they are both learning skills about their art and learning how to paint a mural, learning how to write a poem or create a film. But we also really try to impress on them the business side of the arts as an artist. I did theater school, I did theater graduate school, and I got out in the real world and had very little knowledge about the business side of the biz. And so the lead artists that we work with, like, of course, we look for very talented lead artists, but also artists who have been able to turn their art into careers and can also teach the student the business side of things. With our young poets, we're working with them this year to publish a chapbook, and they're selling prints of their poems and showing them other ways that, you don't just write poets and hope suddenly you're Robert Frost. Like there are business sides of this that you need to learn as an artist. And I know our lead muralist artists, they obviously teach them how to paint the mural and their painting technique and all of that, but also how do you make a career as a muralist? What are the business skills you're going to need? What are the soft business skills of, like, I'm going to communicate with you via email and you have to answer the email.
Sometimes it's just the little things that people don't even learn, right? Those soft skills are so important. And so that's amazing. So how many apprentices have gone through the program over the years? Do you know?
Yeah, we tried to get a number on it when we were doing the documentary, and I think it's been around, it was like somewhere around 1,200.
Wow.
Yeah. Each year
Amazing.
we have typically 30 to 40 apprentices.
Wow.
So this year we have the three mural groups, and each of those groups has 6 to 10 apprentices in it. And then also in each of those groups, we select a student who's been around for several years to serve as a senior apprentice, who kind of serves as a lead assistant to the lead artist and does some of the bookkeeping, handles the finances for the individual group. So, there's kind of a ladder up for them throughout, because a lot of our apprentices, and I think this speaks to the success of the program, we have a lot of repeat apprentices, people that do the program 2, 3, 4, 5 years because they enjoy the experience, they're learning from the experience, and it's valuable to them, and they very tangibly feel that value.
Yeah. So then each year you kind of switch through. You're doing mural projects and poetry now, but you do improv and graphic design and theater other years. So you kind of mix it up.
Yeah, we have an apprentice this year who last year was in the film program and kind of chronicled the history of the program and was chronicling the murals being created this year. And this year she wanted to be on the mural team. So she's over there.
You really are a very different arts organization than traditional. You're working on building careers in the creative economy, focused on helping people understand how to make a living doing their craft. How do you pay for this? Is this what you're fundraising for? Do you get government support, state, or
It's
anything?
bits and pieces. We have lots of different streams that help us put the puzzle together. With the Metro Arts program specifically, arts funding has been at a premium. For us, with a program that focuses on youth development, it's such a great cause that it's easier funding to be able to get. And the program has a lot of community support. I mean, every year, especially as the projects are finished and unveiled, and then I have usually lots of people reach out like, oh, we'd love to do a mural that year. And so it's a mix of, we do get some funding from the state of Illinois for workforce development that helps support
Yeah,
the
sure.
program. We also have some other community funders that we get grants from. Each mural project can cost $11,000 to $14,000 depending on the scope of the mural. If an organization reaches out, we try to work with them and be flexible, and if they're able to give some financial support to the program as well, we will gladly say yes to that.
Of course, always.
Yeah. And I do want to point out too, these are paid apprenticeships. We believe very firmly that art is work.
Scream it
And
louder for the people in the back.
art is work.
Do you have like industry partners that will hire some of your apprentices?
Not directly, but the pipeline we are really cognizant of trying to build. We have a big high school art show every year. And it's most exciting for me when we get a kid who has maybe never received any sort of recognition for their artwork, and then they participate in our high school art show and may win a scholarship from one of the awards from that. And then you see them apply for the Metro Arts program and get into there. And then we work with the Illinois Arts Council and another funder on a Arts Dollars micro grant program.
Nice.
We give about $125,000 to $130,000 out each year for micro grants for area nonprofits. This is a little like proud papa-y, but I love when I see those Metro kids go directly from that program and then come up with a project and apply for those arts dollars. You're kind of taking those tools that we have taught you about the business of art, and they get those grant dollars to further their art career in some way.
That's really amazing.
I moved to New York after grad school, and I'm ready to get discovered or something. But that first year, as I was learning the industry, I was like, oh, I need to get my business together. And so, kind of put myself through a self-guided business school of just reading books on advertising and marketing and running a business as I, created my business around Ben Gougeon, the actor.
Yeah.
And learning how to sell yourself and
Yeah.
do your books.
Right.
And there was a year that I got audited, and the accountant that I had worked without my taxes just kind of ghosted me. And so I had to learn how to go through an audit. And that taught me
Wow.
a ton of stuff about how to do my taxes as an artist.
Are there other like apprenticeship programs like Metro Arts that exist elsewhere across the United States?
There are, and this was actually modeled on a similar sort of program in Chicago. And and I think that was kind of modeled almost out of like a WPA sort of program.
Mhm.
It's actually very cool because one of our Metro Arts alumni is currently working on her master's degree at the Art Institute of Chicago. And she is doing her thesis on youth apprenticeships and the effect on arts apprenticeships for young people.
I love that. After this, please connect me to her because, in the workforce development world, I've not heard of anyone in nonprofits here locally in San Diego or
Yeah,
California that I've heard of that. And I think there's state dollars to be had or go after to try to expand programs like that. And again, one of my favorite words is apprenticeships, but they're also so hard to do. And that's where I think people hear that and they think that and they try it and it's not sustainable. I do know here in San Diego, there's a local group that is working with local artists, both in San Diego and across the border in Tijuana. These people who have these talented gifts, it's how do you give these gifts to the world when you don't have necessarily the tools? You can paint and draw and do these things better than most of people, but how do you then monetize that, build a sustaining life and career for yourself and your family, right? We don't necessarily have these programs, but now I'm learning that there are, and this is really exciting. So congrats to you all.
well, thanks. And that's one thing going back to my journey as an artist and moving
Yeah.
into nonprofit. It's that you always have to put your hand back down the ladder. I think the arts are very lonely if you are just focused on the climb and getting to the top. I always used to jokingly say, but also was a real question for myself is when will it be enough? Is 2 Oscars enough? Because there's so much of it as what's the next thing? What's your next project? What's the next thing? And
That's life. Yeah, now that's the crazy thing, right? What is the career trajectory that you want that's going to be fulfilling, right? We always
right.
think, oh, what's your next step? Oh, and you're like, no, I
Yeah,
should be fulfilled along the way, every step of the journey. And you
exactly.
always keep thinking, oh, there's something next. And that's really hard. I can imagine, especially in the arts world, where
Yeah,
yeah, that's a great example, right? Like, how many Oscars to be happy?
right.
I mean, one or an Oscar nom being
Right.
in a movie that was Oscar nominated, the threshold keeps going higher and higher the more we go through our career. But a good pivot too. We have a lot of people here who listen and they're thinking about what kind of job they want in the nonprofit sector. And so, as a director of community engagement, which I think probably has a lot of things under it tucked into
Yes.
community engagement. So, can you tell some of our listeners specifically kind of what does that entail? What's the scope look like? And what are some of your favorite parts of what you get to do?
Yeah, my absolute favorite part, especially as someone who was a freelance artist for a long time, is I always have programs and things that are changing and different. I'm not staring at a spreadsheet 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
There are weeks where I stare at spreadsheets for 40 hours. But then this morning, I went and met up with our Metro Arts poetry group for a little bit to talk to them about their project, and then picked up ladders for our mural group and got to visit with them and got to sit down and do a podcast. And I recorded a podcast with another artist a couple of days ago while also planning for a festival in the fall and, looking at the artists that we're going to be bringing in next year for our visiting artist series. Community engagement is a very kind of intentionally vague title, I think, but it does mean that I get to engage with our community. And that I'm kind of the point person when people reach out to say, hey, we've got this idea or this project. And this is from my theater directing side. I love problem solving. And I love being able to say, okay, this is what we have. How do we make this work into something? And that can be pieces of like, where are we going to find the funding from? What are the logistics? There's lots of that stuff baked into that engagement. We had this really great event in May where we had a group from the very southern part of Texas, a little town called Edinburgh. They were a kind of the school they have there is the nation's only ballet folklorico dance program. And so they have this world-renowned ballet folklorico company, Ballet Folklorico del Rio Grande, and they were one of our visiting artists. And as the director of community engagement, I connected them with our local ballet folklorico troupe, connected them with a local junior high and high school who had mariachi programs. And so we connected them all. And while they were here, they worked with all of those students. And then at the end, we put on a big concert of both the local groups and the professional company that we had brought in. And so being able to craft and create those partnerships and opportunities within our community is seeing that. For me, that has been far more fulfilling than the pop of, oh, I said 10 lines on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Still cool.
It's still cool.
It's so cool. We're not going to lie about that. I
No.
love that. And I think the nonprofit sector, it can sometimes feel daunting, it can sometimes feel lonely, it can be isolating because sometimes you're the only person maybe in a department and you feel like you have the whole weight of the organizations or that specific task you're supposed to be doing right on your shoulders. And that can feel heavy.
Yeah.
So I think one of the cool things I've always been excited about in like at least the arts is that sometimes you have easier opportunity for storytelling. Like just as you're telling me some of these things of some of your Metro Arts alum, you can go and sit in the classroom and be like, oh my gosh, your story is so cool. I think that a lot of nonprofits really struggle when it comes to their own storytelling for things where they don't necessarily have a classroom they can walk into to see the work. Sometimes it takes a longer time to be able to see the product of what they're doing and do the storytelling piece. So it sounds like you get to kind of do that sounds kind of easier than maybe some organizations because of the magical work. Like you have visuals, right? You can like do this art mural and be like, oh
Yes.
my gosh. And you're getting probably easier news footage. Like the news wants to go and see the unveiling of this mural, right? How do you manage even just probably the storytelling aspect of all the good work you're doing? Because probably endless amounts of opportunity to talk about what you actually do.
Yeah. And sometimes it is a real challenge just to keep up with it because we do have a lot of programs and we've got so many things that are going on that our marketing director has to be very strategic about how she lays things out so that we're not burying ourselves within our own news cycle. Our marketing team obviously is very active in going out and getting that footage, and we're good partners with a lot of our local news and media organizations as far as them covering what we're doing. But there's always more you can do, and like there are so many individual stories from the apprentices or from a project that are worth being told. I think there's in our visiting artist series, like I said, they go out into schools and do presentations and workshops in the schools. And there was a kid, we had a beatboxer in town. His name was Mr. Mike, and he was here with a hip hop dancer. And I think her first name was Sadia, but Mr. Mike was beatboxing, and there was this kid who was an 8-year-old kid who loved beatboxing, and he had only ever seen beatboxing on YouTube before. And he got the chance to go up, and Mr. Mike brought him on stage and let the kid beatbox, and he was sick. Like, this kid was really good at beatboxing, but it's those stories of those connections that happen in the programs that aren't going to be shown in a press release or aren't going to be shown in a news photographer showing up at the back of the room and snapping some photos. There's so many individual stories that you want to tell, especially when you're appealing to donors and funders. It's those little moments that make a difference, that make someone go, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And the impact that could have on that kid who is suddenly getting cheered on by 450 kids in the auditorium while he's up there beatboxing, and getting those stories and being able to tell those stories is, like you said, sometimes it's hard because it's like, we got to gather all the things, but we do what we can to just keep telling the story and keep impressing the importance of the arts in the community.
I love that. As you look ahead for Quad City Arts, What are you most excited about?
I am excited about where we are going. We are kind of leading into a strategic planning period coming up, and we're going to be, I think, having some new offerings that are going to be really impactful on the community. Every year, we're constantly just looking for ways. How can we deliver better? We just did a bunch of community listening sessions and an internal program audit of what's working and what do the artists in our community need. Talking earlier about filling gaps, like we're always just kind of constantly looking of how can we better support the artists in our community? How can our programming better support the community and the schools in our community?
Mm-hmm.
So there's always new gaps that open up. And so we do the best we can to try to fill those. And that's fun.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds like you get to have a blast all day long.
Some days, yes.
Well, thank you so much. I am so excited about what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We do have one final segment before you go.
Okay.
We call it our 3 wishes. So imagine there's a genie
Okay.
in this room and you are afforded 3 wishes. And they can be professional, they can be personal. So what would your first wish be?
My first wish would be very generic, but world peace. Like I'm a very no war, no fighting. Like let's just all get along.
I mean, it's
kind
a
of
crazy
person.
world right now. So yes, I agree.
Let's
So
let's
okay,
start
we'll
there.
start with world peace. And
And
then your
then-
second wish, yeah.
Once I get that, I want a big fancy like black box theater with like seating that is adjustable and is super high tech in its lighting and sound capabilities, and just a big sandbox for myself to create theatrically.
Oh.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. And then I think my third thing is that people take time and slow down and take in their moment and be able to find the attitude of gratitude. It's very easy to get stirred up and caught up in the churn of a news cycle or whatever, but just kind of remembering this is where I'm at and everything's okay.
I love that answer. And thank you for what you do with Quad City Arts. Thank you for
Yeah, thanks for what you
supporting
do.
the creative economy.
And I will connect you with our
Yeah.
thesis writer and also
Yeah.
send over. We have our Metro Arts team did that documentary last year, and they
Yeah.
did a really wonderful job. It was in tons of film festivals, won some
Great.
awards. So
How can our listeners find you on social, on websites? Like, tell us everything.
quadcityarts.com. All our social handles are just at Quad City Arts, mostly Facebook and Instagram. That we are active on. But go there. We've got a ton of programming.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, John, for having
So
me.
excited. I can't wait to go watch Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and Find You Now. I want to know, we said this first season, second episode?
Season 2, episode 3.
Okay. I'm writing it
You
down
can just
now.
IMDb me.
Oh, even better, of course. Again, thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty and just telling your story. Thanks for talking about the amazing work that Quad City Arts is doing and how you got there. I think a lot of people will really connect with your story and the magical work you're doing. And also for those who are just working in the arts world, might be interested in apprenticeships. We should all be doing that. So really
Yes.
excited for you. And kudos to you and the team for many, many years of supporting the arts and obviously becoming a model for other organizations to replicate the good work. All right, to our listeners, thank you for joining us with the Good for Others show. If this conversation made you think differently about the role of arts in the community, I hope it did. And I hope you continue to share this episode with those who also will feel the same thing. As always, we hope you heard something today that inspires you to do good for others.